When I have learned something, let's see how to drive. It's my cognitive memory. It remains embedded in my subconscious. But if on my first day of driving I meet with an accident, it will remain embedded as an emotional memory also, and I'll be so afraid of driving thenceforth. Abusive parents, especially in the case of children at a very young age, can create a pattern of hurt that later on in life can lead to dire psychological consequences. How to deal with emotions that result from this kind of deep abuse? Can we actually override that and be kind towards an abusive parent with the same moral obligations that we feel toward a caring and loving parent? Even towards loving parents, I think we have some sort of reservations for one reason or the other. Abused individuals develop a mistrust towards majority, having failed with parents who have. No, there are so many ways in which abuse happens. Forced feeding a very young child is like overriding the little one's inner compass. When a child does not want to eat and when you force them to eat, is this not an abuse of some sort? There are times when parents give the children the silent treatment. They ignore the child to show that they are not living up to their expected behavior from parents. This is very immature. This is even worse than physical harm. Another card that parents sometimes use and which leaves a deep scar on the child's mind with a lot of guilt and shame is that the victim card. When parents say things like, "Oh, see, it is because of you that I am in such a situation," the child takes up these feelings and feel guilty about the whole situation. Of course, there is the classical situation of physical abuse when parents threaten to beat up a child or actually do so. Psychological abuse is just as violent. Take, for example, the case of parents comparing siblings or favoring one child over the other. It is so demeaning for the children. At times, such criticism that sounds so negative is terribly harmful. Like when parents make statements such as, "You always do this, you don't listen." Even when children grow up, parents can continue to be abusive towards them. Parents retort to emotional blackmailing at times of financial manipulations in order to get what they want from their children. Have you not heard often enough parents saying things like, "If you do not take care of me or do as I say, then I'll have you excluded from my inheritance. Your sister or brother is better at this, and I would likely leave everything to them." Another terrible manner of abuse is especially seen in divorced families. This is manifested by emotional disconnect. Just to please your newfound toy in the form of your new partner or spouse, you do not look after your children so well that attention towards them somehow fails. Instead, caught up in the new relationship, you somehow choose to disconnect yourself from your children just to satisfy your new partner. Sadly, this is rather a common pattern in divorced families. Using guilt tripping or humiliation is observed in many families. The love of parents is supposed to be unconditional, isn't it? How then can it be a manipulative force? A mother's love especially is supposed to be always unconditional. There is no question of a reward mechanism there, or the use of bargain in love and affection. So, how come we begin using such things in our relationship with our own children? Abuse also occurs when parents use their power to continue to ensure that children remain dependent on them. I have also observed that parents at times blame their children for having sacrificed a successful career or missing out on certain opportunities in life. This choice is entirely the parent's own, and by expressing it in this manner to the child, it can create a terrible feeling of guilt, especially when parents blame their children for a failed marriage. Such a blame can create one of the worst feelings of unworthiness in the child. Sometimes abuse manifests in apparently positive things, such as when parents push their children to follow the lifestyle they themselves lead or to follow the faith that they have been inculcated from their early childhood. Have we not observed parents pushing their children to attend Sunday church or go for some group meditations? To my mind, pushing children in such a manner is a form of abuse too. Parents abusing each other can also be classified as abuse towards the children. This is much like a second-hand smoke that a child is subjected to. Abuse by parents towards children of a very young age, or a teenager, or an adult will have a different implication in their psyche. Out of these, the worst is when you are affected as a child. A teenager can at least in some manner manifest his or her anger and do not permit the negative to settle in their mind. They let go of it through anger to a large extent. They are quite capable of reacting violently to the abuse of parents. The question is, should one shut the doors once and for all on such parents? Should one try to forgive? We are often engaged in debates on forgiving and forgetting when considering such situations. Each situation is so unique that it demands a careful study before one can mindlessly end up offering any healing concoctions. I would not dare to. Solutions are difficult to find because even if you want to forgive, past memory doesn't let you. For it is perhaps to a certain extent possible to forgive, but to forget is a whole lot different thing. It is practically impossible. More one tries to forget, somehow it deepens its roots in our psyche, in our subconscious. How to deal with all this remains a big question mark. Many believe that forgiving would help them and find closure. But then the idea of justification rises in the heart. Should such abusing tyrants be forgiven at all? Emotions versus rational are considered epic standoffs. But are they? Yes, under the most situations, emotions and logic, heart and mind sync well. Standoffs, they are felt only when things are at crossroads with each other. The heart says to let go of all that happened once upon a time. Yet there is a lingering feeling of otherwise. Mind says no. Often one even feels like taking revenge later on in life when there has been childhood abuses. But that kind of behavior can have other legal consequences. We do not want to put ourselves in such a situation, you see. Let me repeat, will punishing someone solve my problem from the past? Emotional scars are very tough to heal. Anger, fear, restlessness, frustrations. When desire is to punish someone creeps up in the heart, or the ego says, how could I have been treated like this, and I got to do something about it. Under those circumstances, we generally lose our compass because of this anger. So, is there any other solution to erase these emotional scars? Erasing these emotional scars can begin to some extent, I think, once we accept what has happened and we learn to see that we were not party to it. The moment we realize that we are not responsible for it, then we begin to find some level of solace. We all carry a memory. If I say 2 plus 2 and you have learned 2 plus 2 is 4, but your teacher had spanked you while teaching 2 plus 2, then each time someone asks you 2 plus 2, you'll recall that my teacher spanked me. This becomes emotional memory. You like to see that you don't carry certain impressions at an emotional level. When I have learned something, let's see how to drive. It's my cognitive memory. It remains embedded in my subconscious. But if on my first day of driving I meet with an accident, it will remain embedded as an emotional memory also, and I'll be so afraid of driving thenceforth, unless I get rid of this emotional memory from my mind and heart. But many a time there are situations where we go on absorbing certain level of vibrations. They could be positive also, and they could be negative. Let's say if you met your girlfriend or a boyfriend for the first time and you had exchanged your first kisses, it will be a memorable place, Cornelius and Fox Street. Suppose this relationship had ended. Each time you visited Fox and Cornelius, what go through your mind? Pain. We carry about things, places, time, togetherness, the partners, situations, all have positive or negative impact. In a family environment, most of the things are in our control. Where there is harmony, there will be togetherness, and together we will be able to reinforce each other's ideas and create a conducive environment for a family to grow together. Whether you want it or not, you will carry those vibrations, you will absorb them. It's like you walk into a coal mine with a white shirt. It's difficult to come out without a black spot on your shirt. For example, if you go to a hospital and you meet your loved ones, when you come out, you feel sad, you feel sorrowful. You go to a church, you come out with a reverential feeling. But if you are forced to go to a church, and if you are a non-believer, to you it could be punishment. So every environment has some kind of impact on us. So old impressions can be utilized for our advantage, or they can become our stumbling block in making a right decision. Best would be to transcend our impressions of the past. Each time, create a new, fresher environment around us. Likewise, memory, recollection, or embedding will be suffering. If I can be freed from emotional memory, I'll have extra energy to preserve the cognitive memory, which is actually helpful in our day-to-day life. So it's better that we get rid of this emotional baggage. Sooner the better. There are processes in this heartfulness way of meditation. We help people how to get rid of this emotional baggage. There's a special technique which is easy to apply. And within few days of training, you can clean this